to a brand new trading week. Today is Monday, the 27th of April, 2026, and we're having our morning analysis. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, Mr. Omotosho. Good morning, Eno Achibong, and every other person on the platform this morning. More people are joining, but then we have to get started. All right, so this week we have quite a number of fundamental events, that are economic data which will be released in the course of the week. We just quickly rush through the important ones, then we go to our charts and also check out other global events that may affect the market. Now, today, Monday, there is no fundamental that is tradable, just a speech from President Donald Trump. Okay, that even already took place 12 a.m. last night, so that's already a gone event. So we don't have any fundamental at all for today. Now, tomorrow, Tuesday, the important news, there'll be Bank of Japan policy rate, then monetary policy statement, that's like their interest rate, BOJ outlook report, BOJ press conference. Now, I'll also show you my outlook for JPY this week. So it's good this is coming up. That'll come up tomorrow. It's still tentative though. The time is not given yet, but definitely it's most likely gonna happen. So those are the important events for tomorrow, Tuesday. And on Wednesday, good morning, Madam Onaji. Good morning, Dr. Babatunde Emmanuel. Good morning to you. On Wednesday, Japan will still be on holiday. So it looks like the Japanese yen is going to be one of the major key instruments to look out for this week. And on Wednesday, the other important event will be the CPI from Australia, which will come up 2:30 a.m. on Wednesday. It will be nighttime in Nigeria, so you might choose to stay awake or wake up early to trade it if you want to. And other important events on Wednesday will be the monetary policy report, bank statement, overnight rates, press conference from Canada. So we're expecting a lot of activity on the Canadian dollar on Wednesday. And that same Wednesday, there'll be federal fund rates, FOMC statement, and FOMC. So there's going to be FOMC from US. So volatility is expected across the United States dollar and the Canadian dollar on Wednesday, and even some movement on the Japanese yen. On Thursday, the key event on Thursday will be the official bank rate from the United Kingdom, and other MPC data by 12 p.m. A lot of volatility is expected. Now, from the Eurozone also, there'll be CPI flash estimate, core CPI, German prelim GDP. So there'll be volatility on the euro and the British pound on Thursday. And also, Canadian dollar will have the GDP, advanced GDP, core PCE price index from the United States. So Thursday is going to be filled with so many fundamentals, a lot of fundamentals on different currencies. In fact, we need to watch out for Thursday. Friday, on the other hand, there'll be minimal activity in the market because Switzerland is going to be on holiday. The Eurozone will also be on holiday on Thursday. And even the data from US will be very weak. Just the ISM manufacturing and ISM manufacturing PMI, ISM manufacturing prices, they are both medium impact events. All right, those are just the key events to look out for this week. We need to note that as we plan towards the week. Now, on the global scene, before I go to the chart, I also want to show us some expectations I have. I mentioned the Japanese yen because it's actually an instrument of interest for this week. I'm looking at the investinglive.com. You can always check this site. It's an authority site on global events as it affects the general market. Now you can see here that the Bank of Japan may lean more hawkishly next week, or next week to ease pressure on the yen. Now this information was given on the 24th. Today is 27th. That was on Friday. So there was already a forecast last week, Friday, about the Japanese yen, that the Bank of Japan may lean more hawkishly. It was said next week that we're already in the next week now, so it's this week. Now, if the Bank of Japan leans hawkishly on the Japanese yen, it means that, and we saw on the Forex Factory, let me go back to Forex Factory, that there's going to be some major event on Tuesday. So, that has been given, the forecast has been given earlier now that we may have a hawkish yen. Can say on Tuesday, there's going to be the BOG policy rate, monetary policy statement, BOJ outlook, BOJ press conference. What they're saying in essence is that the outcome of this expected event, which will come up on Tuesday, is likely going to be hawkish. Hawkish is in news, fundamental trading. When you hear the word hawkish is the same term for bullish, which we use in technical trading. So it means that if the Japanese yen will be bullish, now you know that there is no currency pair where the Japanese yen is a base currency. The Japanese yen is always the quote for most currencies. So if the quote is going to be bullish, it means the base will go bearish. That means that the pairs that contain the Japanese yen, there's a likelihood we may see a bearish movement on them across board for this week. But then I'll show you the specific ones I'm really looking at, which will likely go bearish this week. Why am I doing this? Because we're saying it that fundamentals actually, can override technical in the market, and you get better and more quality trades when you can match your technical with fundamental. It gives you a clearer overview of the market. So I'm going to go straight to the charts now and show you a couple of these, Japanese yen instruments I'm looking at for this week. Don't forget, this depends on the actual news from Japan coming out, actually hawkish. But then the technical is already preparing the grounds for that. So we just need to wait for the actual to come up, then we can combine both. I'll be looking at the NZD JPY, the CHF JPY. Those are the two major ones. You can look at other ones, but these are the two major pairs I'm looking at from the Japanese yen to go in the bearish direction this week. Okay, I found it. All right, so this is the NZD JPY. On the weekly time frame, there is an overall, bearish movement. Price is making a series of lower high, and a third lower high here. So there's an overall bearish movement, and that's on the weekly. If we flip down to the daily, we discover, let me remove this. All right. Now, on the daily time frame, there is also a corresponding resistance, which is bringing up a confluence between the downward trend on the weekly and the resistance on the daily. So this becomes a confluence region or a confluence zone. Now I'll zoom this out bigger. And sometime last week, we also have a bearish engulfing candlestick. So that automatically is pointing us to that bearish tendency, which the investing, excuse me, which in investing life is pointing us to in terms of fundamentals. That means the technical is already rounding up. I mean, lining with this fundamental. Yeah, that fundamental is still a forecast until Tuesday. Take note, but we can always see ahead. We are waiting for the actual when the decision will be made. You know, that will lead to that hawkish movement. But technically, we're already preparing ourselves ahead. So from both the weekly and the daily time frame, we can see a bearish potential on the NZD JPY. If I flip it down to 4 hour time frame, now this is still information though. What I'm seeing that is likely going to happen is possibly a head and a shoulder pattern, which may eventually lead to that bearish breakout that is much anticipated. I'll take this region as my neckline region. So we'll just wait in the course of the week, maybe tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, to see the potential crash on the NZD JPY. So I'm bearish on the NZD JPY this week while we wait for the release of the data from Japan, on Tuesday. And I said likewise, I'm looking at a bearish potential on the CHF JPY. All right, so for CHF JPY, it's more straightforward. We have price. Please mute your devices as you're joining this class. We have price hitting a resistance on the daily time frame. This is a valid resistance on the daily time frame. And I'm seeing the possible formation of a head and shoulder pattern before a breakout. Now, price is just back, price is testing the neckline region. So you can see the current daily candle is looking bullish. So there's a tendency for price to go up to complete the second shoulder before dropping. But then we'll get it clearer on the 4 hour time frame. So let's switch over to 4 hour. So on the 4 hour, we have a shoulder, we have a head. Price currently is trading around the neckline, so there's a tendency for price to go up again to this region. Then ultimately what we're looking out for is the massive crash downwards. So we're all the bearish potential for both the NZD-JPY and the CHF-JPY. Now, I know some of us are fans of GBP-JPY, though it's not part of my major analysis, but then for the sake of those who do request about GBP JPY, let me give you my outlook. It's bearish also, but then let me just show you what my thoughts are. Now, for the GBP JPY, price is currently trading at a resistance level on the 4 hour time frame. Now, that resistance level is not just 4 hours, it's cut across, okay, but let's say 4 hour and daily time frame, but I'm looking at it more from the 4 hour perspective. We can see that price is currently ranging, around this resistance level over there. So let's just take it down to 1 hour time frame. All right. So this is 1 hour. You can still see clearly we have a range. Now on one outlook on the 4 hour, we may look at this as trying to form possibly a double top pattern, but then it's still not too sharp at the moment. So I don't want to get hung up on that. What I'm looking out for is a possible reversal. Let me go down to 15 minutes. All right, so this is 15 minutes time frame. Now, this one could happen possibly in the course of today. So just watch it very closely. Now, if in the course of today on the 15 minutes time frame, price makes a clear break below this support zone, that can lead to a trigger of a sell on the GBP JPY. If price breaks below this zone, then we'll see a bearish movement. Now, don't always forget our confirmation RSI below 50 and MACD below 0. Very important. So we're bearish on the NZD-JPY, CHF-JPY. Now, NZD-JPY, CHF-JPY, they are both swing. It will work more when after the release of the data from Japan tomorrow. But this GBP-JPY, it's possible it can get triggered in the course of the day. Just watch it closely. So we're very bearish on the GBP JPY. Good morning, Frank. Good morning, no Archibong. All right, now let me show you other pairs I also am looking at for the week. I'm looking at the dollar, but then there's not much activity on the dollar for now, But then I'm still seeing a setup that is possibly forming on USD CHF. Then I look at the euros. Yeah, I'm taking a look at the Euro NZD. In fact, the Euro NZD is actually one of my major analysis for the week. I think I need to do that first before going to the dollar. Watch the Euro NZD closely. There's something beautiful forming here, which could lead to some massive breakouts in the course of the week. All right, so this is the Euro NZD on the weekly time frame. Price is in an overall uptrend. Price has made a series of higher lows, and last week Friday, the candle for the week closed on that trend line on the weekly. So technically, we're looking for an upside movement this week. And to clarify that, we also had kind of a bullish engulfing candlestick pattern, last week. That was Thursday thereabout, still pointing us in the bullish direction. So overall, on both the weekly and the daily time frame, we are bullish on the NZD, the Euro NZD actually, pardon me. Now on the 4 hour, I'm seeing a falling wedge pattern which has already formed. Now price already broke out and is retesting the trend line. So the next wave of movement is just going to be an upside movement. Don't forget, this is also a swing. We trade what the market gives us. We are bullish on the NZD. Euro NZD, pardon me. Now there's a minor resistance zone here that price needs to break out above to trigger that bullish movement. And if everything goes as planned, we can look at entries around anywhere above that breakout region, anywhere above here, and that could be around the price level 1.99905. And we can look at profit target. One can be as much as 46 pips rather to Fibonacci 50, about 112 pips or 110 pips to Fibonacci 61.8, and as much as 200 pips to Fibonacci 78.6. Now, don't sleep on this one this week. That's the Euro NZD. I strongly believe this will go as planned. More so, there's going to be news from uh there's going to be some fundamental reports from the Eurozone this week. Let's go back to Forex Factory. I saw a couple of fundamental reports from the Eurozone that could really push the price up. Though that's coming up later in the week, though, that will be from the Germany and the Eurozone CPI. That may push it further. It's possible it might have broken out before Thursday, but then if those data come out, in line with that, the expectation, that will push the price higher. Okay, I think there's a news on Wednesday. German prelim CPI from the Eurozone is coming up on Wednesday. And also the RBNZ Governor Brendan Bremer will give a speech from the Reserve Bank of New Zealand Wednesday morning. All this could actually drive the price higher. Any data from New Zealand or the Eurozone could drive the price higher. So we're bullish on the Euro NZD. Like I said, it's a swing, so take note of that. All right, so I go back now to the USD All right, so for the USD now price closed last week forming a bearish, price hit this support turned resistance here, and we saw price drive down last week Thursday, no, last week Friday, forming what is looking like a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern. So there's a possibility technically, for price to move downwards a little, you know. Um, but then what I'm seeing on the USD is still an overall bullish outlook. So it's looking a little bit conflicting. Definitely one will be long term. Okay. I think I'm getting clarity now. All right. So overall here is still bullish. It's still bullish. So price may drop down on the dollar index to the trend line, and from there we may see a takeoff to the upside. Right. That's what the USD CHF is saying. So we may have a short term sell on the dollar index, and on the bigger picture, price might climb higher, because that's what I'm seeing on the USD CHF. Now, the USD CHF, you can see that price is in an overall uptrend. Now, there's a tendency for price to drop, just like I saw on the dollar index, then climb higher. But then, you can see that blue line, for me, it's an area of interest. Why is it an area of interest? Because price had reacted massively on that level, previously. If you come to the monthly time frame, you can see that earlier on in the year 2010, that's some 16 years ago, you know, price got to that level and there was a massive reaction. Okay, that was 2011 August. Price got to that level, that's a 0.78252, and there was a massive reaction. Later on, price retraced there and broke out upwards. So price is back to that region again. So there's a tendency for a bigger move to the upside on the dollar. So on the big picture, I hold a bullish outlook on the dollar, but then there could be retracement, like I mentioned. So taking it down to the daily time frame, we may have that retracement back to that line. Now there's a line from the monthly time frame where price reacted, and in the short term we may see a sell. All right. And that also looks a lot like we are seeing the formation of an inverse head and shoulder, where we're expecting the drop to culminate in the second shoulder before we see a breakout to the upside. It's clearer on the 4 hour. All right. So we have the inverse head and shoulder forming. The price may drop. Now, if all things go well at this point here on 0.78252, we should see a breakout to the upside. Otherwise, it's possible also price may still break out to touch the trend line. Any of the two is possible. But ultimately, we should see a big move to the upside after price touches any of those two levels. And if that happens, then we'll see price breakout. I'll be looking at our entry at the break of the neckline region here, and profit potential can be in the range of about 30 pips to Fibonacci 50, as much as about 60 pips to Fibonacci 61.8, and as much as 100 pips to Fibonacci 78.6. Now we can be looking for entry around the price 0.78723. So I'm bullish on the dollar. Though, like I said, there can be a short-term bearish movement before that major bullish movement comes up. All right, that'll be all from my analysis this morning. Let me give you a little recap of what I've done. I've looked at the USD on which I'm bullish. I just completed that analysis now. Those short-term bearish, but longer term bullish. I am also bullish on the Euro NZD on 4 hour. The USD is on 4 hour, Euro NZD on 4 hour. NZD JPY and CHF JPY, I'm bearish on 4 hour. But on GBP JPY, I'm bearish on 15 minutes. Now that 15 minutes means it could trigger in the course of today. So pay a lot of attention to it. All right, that'll be all from my end. I'll take questions now, and we can round up the analysis session. Somebody dropped a BTC somewhere. Let me check again. Okay, Frank is asking me to check gold, and no, he's asking me to check BTC. All right, let's start with the BTC. That request came in earlier. BTC USD. I'm on BTC, trying to scan the markets. All right, so price currently is trading around a support turn resistance zone on the weekly time frame. Now, there was a forecast that price could go as high as $80,000 per BTC last week, and that's already happened. Okay, it got to 79. Okay, it didn't get exactly to 80,000, but it got quite close. This is 79, this is 80,000 up there. But it got quite close. But currently, BTC USD is looking a lot bearish. Now, like I said, I'm seeing a support turn resistance. This is a support turn resistance on the weekly time frame and taking it down to the daily. Now, what I'm doing is called top-down analysis. On the daily time frame, there is a resistance here again. That's a resistance for the daily. And today's daily candle, it's giving us already a rejection candle. But then the day is still early. Anything can happen in the course of today. But if you want to trade this, I would say for better clarity, maybe you wait till the close of today. If this candle closes with this pattern by the end of today, there's a high tendency from a technical angle that there will be a breakout to the downside. Fundamentally, there is no serious fundamentals on BTC at the moment. You know, there's no serious fundamental. I've checked the sites. Let me just show you what I'm looking at now on investing.com. There's no clear fundamental. The only statement being made is BTC analysis today. Bitcoin analysis today is BTC preparing for a breakout or a failed push. If it fails in pushing into resistance, there's a high tendency that means we're expecting a crash. I don't want to go into all the details, but I'm just, showing you what is on the screen. So technically, we are looking at it purely from the technical angle, nothing much on fundamentals. So we have a support turn resistance on the weekly, and we have a resistance on the daily with a rejection candle forming. Let's go down to 4 hour. On the 4 hour, we have a very clear-cut rising wedge pattern, and the recent candle, the current candle that is running is very, very bearish. So if price makes a breakout below this, lower support uh, and the lower trend line, and RSI is clearly below 50, though currently at 48. But if you can cross below all these levels, we may be getting ready for a bearish breakout on BTC USD. So I would advise you look more at BTC from a bearish angle rather than a bullish angle for now, except if any fundamental takes over and price clearly breaks out above the current high. Anything outside that, we are strongly bearish on BTC USD. All right. I'll look at gold and somebody's asking for GP. That'll be the end. My timer is already on a countdown to round up. Now for gold also, there's no fundamental at the moment. There's no fundamental at the moment, though there's no end in sight for the war. There's no agreement reached. They keep postponing the meeting between US and Iran. They keep postponing. So they've not really had a concrete meeting. So this is gold. Gold is on a range on the 4 hour. You can see the candles as scanty. All right, so that's a range zone there. So let's go down to 1 hour. So when price is in a range, that means it's in a consolidation. And what may happen, you're welcome, Mr. Chubong, is either price breaks up to the upside or to the downside. That's what happens in the range. The only thing that happens in the range is that you wait for price breakout. So where the breakout will happen today, I can't say yet. But if price breaks out to the upside, you may look at buying gold. If it breaks out to the downside, you may look at selling gold. So it's more about the market doing its thing. Let me see if I can still get some clarity technically if there's an established trend. This is 4 hour time frame. Okay, let's take it down to 1 hour. Okay, well, we may look at this is an uptrend. Price looks a bit bullish using that particular trend line. We may look at that as a bullish trend. Okay, I think I'm getting some. All right, so we're having something that looks like an uptrend with a falling wedge. So we may be looking at price breaking out to the upside on gold. Like I said, no fundamentals at the moment, just purely technical. And if we have that bullish outlook, we should have our range clearer like this. All right, so we have a minor resistance here. So if price breaks up to the outside, I mean, if it breaks out to the upside rather, you may look at buying gold. So I hold a bullish outlook on gold purely from a technical perspective. And I said that the dollar might be in the, in a bearish, short-term bearish movement. So that supports a bullish gold from a technical angle. And for GBP USD, all right, so price closed on a resistance turn support on the daily time frame last week, and this also ended up as a bullish engulfing candlestick. So technically, we may be looking at an upside movement on GBP USD. Again, I mentioned that I have a short-term bearish movement on the dollar, so that supports, all this view I'm talking about. So that's on the daily, but on the 4 hour, we already have a breakout of price. All right. Now, this price trading around a recent resistance on the 1 hour. Now, this is one of the two things that may likely happen. If price is able to make a break above the resistance, then it will continue on the bullish trend, which, with the bullish engulfing pattern on the daily will support at least some bullish movements. So we need a breakout of price above this region, and price may target that area on the daily, on the 1 hour time frame. That can give as much as it's 37 pips here, but I just look at 25 to 30 pips of movement. Otherwise, if there is no sufficient strength to push price, in this direction, we may see, a bearish movement. But technically, I favor more of the bullish movement, on the GBP USD. So let's expect a breakout to the upside on the GBP USD. All right, that will be all from the analysis this morning. Don't forget to join us by 12:30 for the afternoon analysis. Yeah, I mentioned last week that NFP will come up this Friday, but on further check on Forex Factory, I discovered it's not this Friday, but rather it's next week, Friday. That will be the 8th of 8th of May. Let me take you to Forex Factory next week. All right. So you can see NFP is coming up on the 8th of May 2026, Friday, May 8th. So we have enough time to plan towards it. So make sure you plan towards it. Make sure you fund ahead of that particular day. All right, that'll be the end of the analysis this morning. Do trade safe and have a great week ahead. Bye bye.